My guest on Idea Talks today is Kelly Pisani, who is a young sustainable fashion entrepreneur. Together with Kelly, I shall be discussing her personal journey with second-hand fashion and how this evolved into a full-time career.
Malta's future starts with a conversation. Idea Talks.
Kelly, thank you for your time and for joining Idea Talks. Before we delve into your personal journey with second-hand fashion and then how it eventually evolved into your full-time career, tell us something about yourself, your background.
So I'm Kelly, I'm 25, I'm a teacher by profession. However,
What do you teach?
I used to teach primary school.
Okay.
However, my life now took me into another route, and I'm the co-founder of two businesses, Dainty Vintage and By the Kilo, and they also run a sewing school.
And you started in this area by chance, or it was something that you always wanted to do?
I've always felt like I want to own my own business when I grow up, but I never actually understood what I wanted to do, and teaching was something that I loved doing, so I said I'll take that route. However, I used to thrift since I was young, and when I started learning how to sew, I understood that there was much more to second-hand clothes, especially, than just what meets the eye. And that's then when I started looking into how I can make money from second-hand clothes. Really.
Okay, we're going to delve into that in a short while. So walk us through now how your personal journey evolved. So you became a teacher, and then you decided and you said, look, there is this area, this industry, which could have a very good potential, which is second-hand clothes, and I want to develop it into my own business, notwithstanding that the challenges that there are and the competition, the fierce competition that there is in the retail section. Talk to me about that.
So basically, it was COVID, and I was finishing my degree, and I asked my mom to teach me how to sew. And she was teaching me how to sew. At that time, it was very boring being on the lectures and sitting down just listening every day. So I had a lot of time to put into my sewing skills. And at that time, I started my first business, which is not running anymore. But I used to buy that stock branded fabric and redo it into something else. So I used to repurpose it. However, I realized there wasn't really much to grow within that business, and I decided to stop. And I went into teaching. However, it was a very rigid time in my life, and I didn't really like the work that I was doing. I wasn't really feeling like I was fulfilling my purpose. I had joined someone else in their own business, and I learned a lot. In the meantime, I was rethinking about how I can maybe continue the business that I had, but do it more modern and fix the problems that it had in the beginning. And that's when I met my best friend now, and we opened the business together. We opened Dainty Vintage. That's basically it.
So what does this business venture mean to you? Dainty Vintage, what does it do and what does it mean to you?
So basically, Dainty Vintage is my little baby. It's a very nice environment because I get to do things I love with regards to fashion, which is something that is a pivotal point in my life, and help other people, because obviously the thrifting sector is very new to Malta, especially with how Lexi, my business partner, and I are going about Dainty Vintage. Especially, we're really trying to modernize the idea of thrifting in Malta, because unfortunately thrifting in Malta is very related to charity shops, and thrift stores are at a low. So we're really trying to change the idea of what thrifting should be.
And this is a sustainable type of business.
Yes.
So as a sustainable entrepreneur, do you feel that there is enough support to entrepreneurs like yourself? I don't know many sustainable entrepreneurs, certainly not in your area.
Yes, I feel like there is a bit of help, but there is so much room for growth, because I feel like sustainability is still a very untouched and untapped subject, and we've only just looked at the very, very outline of it. And I feel like right now it's just a trend. Everyone wants to be sustainable, but we're not understanding that it has to be a lifestyle. And unfortunately, there needs to be much more support for sustainable business to grow, because there's so much more money being put into sustainable businesses to actually grow and get to where not sustainable businesses obviously are.
In fact, you predicted my next question, because I was going to ask you, okay, thrifting is trending right now, but do you think it's a phase, or is it something which is more of a long-term cultural shift? And if it is a long-term cultural shift, How are we going to get there?
I feel like it is a long-term cultural shift, and we have to get there by our generations right now who are understanding that this is the way forward. Right now, it's a matter of being cool, to buy secondhand, to be sustainable. But I feel like in the future, with the generations that are growing, especially the very young ones, they're going to understand that unfortunately we don't have much at our disposal to just create new constantly, not just with clothes. And I feel like they're already understanding the effect that they have with buying new and the effect that buying secondhand has, So I feel like right now it's a trend, but in the future it's going to become a given, kind of.
And do you think eventually it will also create new jobs, new opportunities?
Yes, definitely. Something that a lot of people overlook, especially if you've never been at the back end of a vintage business or a sustainable business, there's so much to do, especially when you're working within a clothing store like ours. You have one-of-one pieces. So there is the same amount of effort that big normal fast fashion shops put into a whole collection into one piece. Imagine the amount of energy that takes, So I definitely believe that there's going to be much more jobs from the very bottom, like sales girls and these normal wear jobs, and especially as well more niche down, like trend researchers and people who are taking care of the stock, people who are supplying the stock, people who are looking specifically for certain stock. This is just within the clothing sector.
You are very, very passionate about this subject.
Yes.
One can feel the passion that you have, even the way you talk about it. Very eloquent, I must say. But there are misconceptions about your industry as well, about second-hand clothes. And I assume that these misconceptions, for someone like you, a young entrepreneur, very passionate, you want to grow this business, you have a clear idea where you want to take it, it could be frustrating. Talk to me about that.
It is definitely frustrating, especially when people feel like they know a lot, and it kind of gives them a false idea and a false kind of confidence to come at you with certain, accusations. For instance, right now there is the rise of people who kind of hate on people who are reselling, because they tell you you're getting this piece for X amount and you're selling it for Y amount. Yes, but why? Because there is so much work that we put into so that people can come in our store and find these things without having to rummage, feel dirty, spend hours and not actually find anything, which is something that is unfortunately very common when charity shopping or thrift shopping. So we are giving a normal store experience to things that are second-hand. Mm-hmm. And that takes a lot of money, time, effort, and obviously hands as well.
Do you think this fashion industry should be taken more seriously, say, as an academic subject, for instance?
Yes, definitely. I feel like if fashion in itself and even the making of clothes was taught and was a given in early ages, I feel like people would understand the amount of time it takes to make even just a normal top. And even they would then understand the investment that goes into buying good clothes. And that is something that comes naturally with buying vintage, because the materials were much better than what is being sold now. So it's instantly an investment. So if you know why it takes so long to make, what fabrics to choose, it's going to be kind of a natural instinct for you to buy secondhand.
Yeah. My last question, you're 25 years old, still very young. Where do you see yourself in 25 years from now?
I definitely see myself as a business owner, but not just one. I want to really, really reshape the thrifting idea in Malta, and maybe even overseas. I feel like if I can inspire people to buy secondhand, feel good in secondhand, and remove the stigma that is surrounded with secondhand clothes, and also maybe inspire them that, I started young and they can start. And maybe I help also businesses that want to,
Kelly, thank you so much for your time. I wish you well for your immediate and long-term future.
Thank you so much. Thank you for the invitation.
I hope you found this interview with Kelly Pisani interesting. I did. I must admit that I had little idea about the thrifting business, about second-hand clothes, and how this could be a very important and substantial as well industry in Malta. Till next time, thank you for your time.